Everyone panicked even more and started running away from the monster. Many of them died as the big monster began stomping his feet here and there. "Praise the Lord," a voice echoed inside the room, but everyone thinks that it's impossible to praise an evil spirit. Behind them is the statue of the god, and in front of them are the moving statue who are attacking the hunters when they get close to them. The moving statues have axes, spears, swords, hammers, maces, bows, and musical instruments. They can neither get close to them nor can they run away from them. While running here and there, Sung saw a statue carrying musical instrument and found it strange as it isn't used in fighting. Sung shouted everyone to be close to the statues holding the instruments. The leader then supported Sung as he analyzed that the statues holding musical instruments doesn't attack and they might be safe around them. As soon as the leader was under the statue with instrument, the statue started playing the instrument. Sung and Joo-hee also reached under a statue, but it wasn't playing any music. Sung assumed it might have been because two of them were under a same statue, so he ran in search of another statue. However, he reached a statue with a shield and with much difficulty he was successful in escaping and finding a statue with a musical instrument. Sung had lost one of his leg while escaping the monster. The raid eventually started with 17 members, but now they are reduced to only 6 and among them 2 are seriously injured. The big statue moved its hand and the ground began shaking. An altar emerged from the ground. They remembered the last rule, prove your faith towards God. Since the leader was the one who dragged all of them into this mess, they think that he should be the one going to be sacrificed. When Mr. Song, the leader, stood on the altar, only one flame burnt. However, more the number of people on the altar, more the number of flame increased. The gate of the dungeon completely opens after 7 days, and when the gate completely opens, the beasts inside the dungeon can come over to this world. The real purpose of raiding is to defeat the dungeon boss and close the gate in time. When everyone entered the altar, it started to shine blue and the gate of the dungeon opened. All the statues began moving towards them. The statue moves closer to them when they aren't looking at them and stops when they do. Apparently each of them are staring at different statue to stop them from coming any closer. But one of them got scared of all of this and ran towards the open gate and managed to escape from there. Everyone present there were shocked as to see the girl escape with ease. However, when she escaped, the door closed a little bit and one of the flame dies out. So, Sung realized that number of flame corresponds with the number of people present in the altar. Another member escaped and Sung shouted no one else to leave. Now only 4 of them remain there, Sung, Joo-hee, Mr. Kim and Sung the leader. They all are supposed to keep their eyes out in the stone statues and wait for the blue flame to go out, as the blue's flames are a time. And when the blue flame goes out, they all get out of here and survive. However, Mr. Kim seems to be skeptical about this as to trust the weakest rank hunter, even though he has survived this far thanks to him. Mr. Kim drops his sword and decides to run through the gate and survive for his family. Sung feels as though Mr. Kim running from there is leaving them to die inside. Since many of the hunters left the altar, a blind spot have been created and the statues have been moving closer towards them. The leader asks Sung and Joo-hee to leave, as he analyzed that the door won't completely close as long as one of them stays inside. He asks Joo-hee to help Sung escape, but she can't move her leg since her mana is low from healing Sung. Then, Sung asked the leader to take Joo-hee with him and escape as he is completely helpless after losing one of his leg. Joo-hee cries hysterically as she don't want to lose Sung. Earlier, in the raid, Sung had promised to take Joo-hee for a dinner, so he handed her the crystal he earned as he won't be getting out of here alive. Sung tells the leader to take good care of Joo-hee and they leave the altar. He takes Mr. Kim's sword and decides to fight back. One of the statue raised its sword and pierced it through Sung's chest and placed him on top of the altar. Sung repeatedly says he don't want to die as he has a family he have to look after. The statue again attacked Sung with its self-sword, but when the sword got closer, a blue screen appeared in front of him. The blue screen flashed some notifications which states you have satisfied all the conditions necessary for completing the secret quest. Courage of the weak. Sung was too stunned after seeing this sight, when a sound echoed inside the room. It states that you have obtained the right to become a player, do you accept? Another message flashed where it is written that his heart will stop in 0.02 seconds later if he declines it. Sung accepts to become a player thinking that he might not die if he accepts. The screen congratulates him for being a player and a light begins shining from Sung. When Sung woke up, he found himself in the bed of a hospital and thought all of that might have been a dream, as both of his legs seems to be completely fine and there is no scar in his chest from getting pierced by a sword. Two gentlemen entered the room and introduced themselves as the member of Korean Hunter Association's surveillance department. Sung seems surprised as why they have come there to see him. Sung has been asleep for 3 days straight and he asked them what has happened to Joo-hee and rest of the group. Apparently they all are alright, but the leader lost one of his arms so he might have to retire being a hunter and Joo-hee has been suffering from trauma and is undergoing treatments. Only 6 people survived the double dungeon. After, one of the survivors notified the White Tiger Guild along with the surveillance department. They went inside the double dungeon, but everything inside there disappeared. The only thing remaining in that room was Sung, who was lying unconscious. There was no trace of the big statues. They feel as though Sung has been reawakened. A hunter's abilities are determined when they first awaken, but in some rare case, hunters have been reawakened. When a hunter have been reawakened, they surpass their limits and there has been cases when people rise from C to a rank or even from B to S rank. They handed Sung a magic power meter in order to measure his strength. As Sung was the last survivor in the dungeon, they couldn't help but suspect him of reawakening. However, they feel as though trash will always be trash and leave the place as Sung's strength haven't changed a bit. Sung sees a big blue screen in front of him but wonders if people around him can see it too. When he was in the thought of his own, his sister comes to visit him and scolds him for making her worried by getting hurt. She threatens that if he gets hurt one more time, she will quit studying and find a job to make him quit being a hunter. Sung asks his sister if she can see the big blue screen in front of him, but she feels as though he has hurt his head and is taking rubbish. The screen notified him about daily quest that is training to become strong. His sister leaves the room. The screen further notified that in the case of incomplete task there might be a penalty. Sung doesn't quite understand what it is all about and remembers that similar things have happened earlier inside the double dungeon. He then proceeds to read daily quest but decides to ignore it and sleep as he feels as though he don't have the strength to do those. The time passes by for the daily quest and a notification popped which indicates that he has failed to complete the daily quest, so he will be moved to the penalty zone. The ground began to shake and all of a sudden he finds himself in the different location from the hospital bed. He was in the middle of a desert surrounded by poison-toothed Gant sand centipede. This was his penalty for failing to complete his daily quest. He has to survive a total of 4 hours. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more amazing contents.